So with the addition of the new Redneck series rifles in the 0.2 update, I was asking myself whether they're actually worth it over the earlier counterparts that we got in the game. You know, the AK-15 replaces the AKM, the AK-12 replaces the AK-74. So that's why we are conducting a couple tests now, and I want to talk about my opinions on this. And as you might see, the AK-12 is not necessarily better than the AK-74N in every scenario, especially when it comes to cost, but I'll talk about that later. So for this purpose, I built out two very high-end AK rifles here. As you can see, they're not best in slot, as there are new like 30mm rings that are a bit lighter, so that would technically be the best slot item for this, but they're pretty close. They're both really good, and as you can see, their stats are pretty comparable. In terms of weight, they are basically the same, within 10 grams. In terms of accuracy, the AK-12 wins as expected, but not by a whole lot. It wins by less than 0.5 MOA, which is not as much as I would have hoped for. But if we look at the other stats here, you can see that the AK-74N has some advantages. It has an 8% higher recoil control, and while it loses in the other stats, it doesn't lose by a lot, and its suppressor, the PBS-04, is better than the AK-12 suppressor. It offers better recoil reduction and better loudness, although I don't think loudness actually matters in this game currently. I haven't done proper testing for that yet, but that's just my assumption for now. Recoil reduction is a very, very important stat, and a doubling in recoil reduction is quite good. Now, the AK-12 has a bit of a higher fire rate, 50 rounds per minute more than the AK-74N, but this is not enough to actually make it like a great close quarters rifle or anything, but it is a bit better, I have to mention that. So one might think, you know, the AK-12 might have a lower base recoil and doesn't need as much recoil control and recoil reduction as the AK-74N, so why not just put that to the test? Okay, let's put it to test here. This is the AK-12 in full auto, 60 round mag with FMJ loaded. And now we try the AK-74N with the same ammunition, also a 60 round mag in full auto. And let's go. So as you can see, both are extremely similar in their recoil pattern and in their spread at close range. What I found across multiple tries is that the AK-74N has very, very slightly lower recoil, but not enough to actually matter. So what's the conclusion here? Both rifles are essentially the same when it comes to recoil control and the handling, etc. But the AK-12 has a higher accuracy, but also a much higher price. And I think for almost all applications, the AK-74N will do the job just as well for less than half the price of the AK-12. And I think the AK-12 is actually not worth it unless you find one and want to use it. But even then, I probably would sell it in favor of an AK-74N that I already have or something. This is, by the way, this is only the case for the new AK-12. The other AK Redneck series rifles, the AK-15 and the AK-19, are actually quite a bit more accurate, which makes them much more viable, but I'll talk about that in a different video. But now, in my opinion, the AK-74N is just much better in terms of value, although the AK-12 fills that role of a high-end 545 AK. So at the end of the day, it always comes down to your preference. I will personally probably use the AK-74N more than the AK-12 just to save some money for other gear.